I'm going to read the transcript of a clip from a well-known video which was released in 2020. There's a reason for me doing this and not playing the original video. The immune system is built by exposure to viruses and bacteria. When you're a little child crawling on the ground, putting stuff in your mouth, viruses and bacteria come in, you form an antigen-antibody complex. This is how your immune system is built. You don't take a small child, put them in bubble wrap, put them in a room and say, go have a healthy immune system. This is Immunology Microbiology 101. This is the basis of what we've known for years. When you take a human being and you say, go into your house, clean all your carpets, Lysol them down, you're going to kill 99.9% of all bacteria. Wear a mask, don't go outside. What does it do to our immune system? Our immune system is used to touching. We share bacteria. We develop an immune response daily to this stuff. When you take that away from me, my immune system drops. As I shelter in place, my immune system drops. You keep me there for months, it drops more. And now I'm at home, hand washing vigorously, washing the counters, worried about things that indeed I need to survive. Social distancing decreases your immune system. If someone has a reduced immune system, you hide them away because they can't build an immune system. If you have a normal functioning immune system, you need interaction. When a child's in a womb, it's in a protected environment. When you come out, you have almost no immune system. You develop that through touching your mouth, touching your eyes, virus, bacteria, immune response. This is how you build a strong immune system. Sheltering in place decreases your immune system. Then, when you come out of sheltering in place with a lower immune system and start trading viruses and bacteria, what do you think is going to happen? Disease is going to spike. And now I'm going to read a very short post-social distancing, post-event affirmation of what I just read. People's immunity is not what it was because of social distancing throughout the pandemic. People's immunity is not as strong as it would have been if they'd been out and about picking up viruses. That corroborates the previous statement. Warning: sheltering in place decreases your immune system. When we come out of sheltering in place, what do you think is going to happen? Disease is going to spike. Confirmation: people's immunity is not what it was because of social distancing throughout the pandemic. People's immunity is not as strong as it would have been if they'd been out and about picking up viruses. Prophecy, reality. I can't play the original video that little clip was a transcription of because it was banned from all mainstream social media in 2020. It's on my Twitter and on my Getter as well, with links to the full video. Link to that is in the description of this video. That short affirmation of everything he said is more recent, however, coming from the Prime Minister of Ireland in the Irish Assembly in response to a question about excess deaths. I believe I can safely play this.
The likelihood is that it's related to a number of factors. Influenza, RSV and COVID all circulating in the community. People's immunity is not what it was because of social distancing throughout the pandemic. People's immunity isn't as strong as it would have been if they'd been out and about picking up viruses.
Leo Varadkar, Prime Minister of Ireland, and apparently conspiracy theorist in chief, because this lad was memory holed in 2020 for saying exactly that. Saying that, and 3 years down the line, having it confirmed by real-life experience. And here's a reminder of some commentary of the same nature. Lockdowns to blame for strep A that's killed 4 children. Health experts have suggested that COVID-19 lockdowns may have laid the groundwork for a rise in strep A. Scientists have long held worries about what impact 2 years of lockdowns may have had on people's immune systems. Simon Clark, a microbiologist at the University of Reading, told Mail Online, "You'll be aware of lockdowns having an effect on immunity for things like flu. The principle is the same." You'll be aware of lockdowns having an effect on immunity. Odd that nobody mentioned that at the time. What was described back then by apparently barking mad conspiracy theorists as this is the basis of what we've known for years, and what biologists are now describing in such terms as you'll be aware of lockdowns having an effect on immunity for things like flu, the principle is the same. Funnily enough, in 2020 you could get a YouTube channel strike for saying that. Why was what was obvious to non-experts back then, and now apparently true according to actual experts, a cancellation-worthy offence? They would say because the alternative was worse, according to our Imperial College modelling, which said that if you didn't quarantine all the healthy people, everyone would die, which oddly enough is not the basis of what we've known for years. It appeared out of the blue in March 2020, and we couldn't allow ourselves to dilute the lockdown message with warnings of consequences, which led to the situation that what appeared obvious to everyone was a cancellation-worthy offence, and what appeared obvious to no one was sold back then as established science. And in a third topsy-turvy twist, healthcare professionals have been accused in law of being the worst propagators of misinformation about their area of expertise, as I mentioned in the previous video. It remains to be seen whether the excess deaths matter at home and abroad, as mentioned by the Prime Minister of Ireland, amounts to anything substantive in the end. I have my doubts about that slightly. I won't go into that anymore. I think it might all amount to a bit of a nothing burger. This, on the other hand, might be something worth spending time on. A question. Misinformation and lies intended to hoodwink a gullible public into ignoring sage governmental advice, and which must be eliminated from polite society on that basis. The immune system is built by exposure to viruses and bacteria. This is how your immune system is built. You don't take a small child, put them in bubble wrap, put them in a room and say, go and have a healthy immune system. This is Immunology Microbiology 101. This is the basis of what we've known for years. Obviously not misinformation and lies. Actually, reality, now acknowledged as reality, but dismissed as misinformation because it was intolerable to see the lockdown message being undermined, and mainstream media and mainstream social media as well were acting in lockstep with the government. Familiar biological reality dismissed as false. So, question number 2. Sage government advice based on long-standing, deep-rooted science?
We need everyone to keep playing their part, and that includes you. The only way to protect yourselves and others now is to stay at home.
As in me, a healthy person, right?
This advice is not a request. It is an instruction. Stay at home, protect lives, and then you will be doing your part.
I repeat myself, as in me, a healthy person, correct? Well, yes, apparently, as we found out afterwards.
It is a fact that by adopting those measures we prevented this country from being engulfed by what could have been a catastrophe in which the reasonable worst-case scenario was 500,000 fatalities.
In other words, if healthy people had not quarantined themselves at home on the basis that they might have been secretly ill, a little under 1% of the entire country, a little under 1 person in 100 risked being wiped out. This, according to a man whose computer modelling it turns out he didn't actually even believe himself, and rules which he didn't actually believe himself, which were enforced by a man who, it turns out, didn't actually believe them himself either, and which were overseen by a man who, it turns out, also didn't actually believe them himself either. None of these 3 little maids from school believed a word of it, as demonstrated by their actions. Neither was it remotely unreasonable of them not to believe a word of it, because it was unbelievable. If you're healthy, quarantine at home to avoid infecting anyone with a virus you almost certainly haven't got. If you're healthy, wear a surgical mask to avoid infecting anyone with a virus you almost certainly haven't got. Get a vaccine, not primarily to decrease your chance of getting ill, but uniquely to decrease your chance of infecting other people, despite documents published at the time of the vaccine's release showing the manufacturers already knew there was no evidence that the vaccine had this utility. Ensure that there is no mention in the media at a time of apparent public health crisis of anything that could be beneficial to the public health crisis, such as vitamin supplements, weight loss, exercise, sunshine, etc. Ensure that there is no mention in the media at a time of apparent public health crisis of repurposing existing drugs that could be beneficial to the public health crisis. This is particularly important to public health if such are mentioned by a political figure you dislike. Close fitness centres but keep shops open that sell alcohol in the interests of public health. If it makes no sense, do it. If it makes sense, ignore it. Somewhat difficult, it has to be said, to hold it against the 3 little maids from school for not believing a word of the tripe they were uttering. It's also rather unlikely that they actually believed anyone else actually believed a word of it. Many behaved as if they did, but that's probably more to do with the allure of furlough money rather than actually believing any of this topsy-turvy version of reality. It might therefore be a good idea if, on any subsequent occasion, they might try to sell again such a crock of reality-inverted nonsense, flanked on all sides by these nodding, sombre-faced, smartly suited representatives of the pharmaceutical industry, it might be a good idea if people take some time now to think how they would respond to such an order. To self-quarantine when you are healthy and harmless, or to wear a clown mask on your face when you are healthy and harmless, or to take drugs which you probably don't need, and which you are advised to take on the basis of the benefit to other people, or to not go to the gym, but to buy alcohol. Yes, off-licences were essential businesses. They were essential because MPs wanted to be able to buy alcohol. It might definitely be a good idea to think how you would respond to such a potential repeat horror show, and pretty relevantly how you might communicate your misgivings to others who might again be lured at the prospect of furlough cash bribes. Maybe highlighting aspects of the insanity which I have highlighted here. And not forgetting, of course, the harms involved, among many such what the Irish Prime Minister said about damage to the immune system, which was pretty much word for word what that Californian doctor Dan Erickson said at the very start of all this.
People's immunity is not what it was because of social distancing throughout the pandemic. People's immunity isn't as strong as it would have been if they'd been out and about picking up viruses. People's immunity isn't as strong as it would have been if they'd been out and about picking up viruses.